Hi everyone, it's Marianne from Yarnwork Studio, and in my last this or that video that I posted, we blended up some neutral fiber, and here is that finished yarn. So I spun it up as a 2-ply. It's around a DK weight. It's got a high twist on it, and we are going to weave it up today. So what I've got around 180 yards of this hand spun yarn in really neutral, dreamy colorway. And then I warped my loom, which, what am I even saying? I warped my loom with some sort of soft, neutrally, with hints of pinks and peaches and some grays. And there's some sort of neutral, sort of tan colors in here too. And I love it. Now this is going to be, and I cannot stress this enough, I'm a new weaver. I have woven a few things and I'm obsessed right now with weaving with my hand spun. So I wanted to bring you along on this one. I'm going to shoot it in a few parts and put it together, but just know if you are a weaver, I'm a novice, I'm a beginner, and I would love tips or tricks if you want to put them in comments. But we don't need to criticize my skills because they are new and just developing. But that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cake up this yarn and load it onto the shuttles here, and we're going to get ready to weave. Okay, I think I'm all set up and ready. First thing I'll ask for tips on, I loaded the yarn onto the 2 shuttles I have. Very much underloaded one and overloaded the other. Almost to the point of it being way too full, but that's just how it goes. So I'm going to start. I've found that when I want to get started, and this is just me kind of playing with things, again, none of this should be instructional for people, as this is me fiddling around. I've been learning, basically, I learned how to warp it using the instruction manual, and then I have wonderful friends on Instagram who have helped me. I made this little sort of cardboard piece that fits really snugly at the bottom. So when I get started, I have something to kind of push against. I don't know if that's standard, but once I get going with some stuff here, I'll just pull that out before I actually roll it in. But I have enough warp. I think it should be around, I don't say 80 inches or so. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to use my first shuttle here. So like when I put the yarn off the cake, I started on here and then went on to here. So this one will be the first one, this one will be the second, so that the end of this one is the start of that one. That just makes sense to me. So at the start, I think my shuttle is really, really fat. It's really, really full. So hopefully, this is my first time using the cardboard thingamajigger down here, but hopefully it will help it just kind of get snug. So there we have our first one coming across. My warp is fingering weight minis. I have a whole bunch of minis that I've accumulated over time that I don't really use in projects often, except for sock toes and stuff like that. So this is a great way for me to be using some of the minis. And if you remember a few videos back, I have one with a beautiful sort of aqua turquoise scarf that I did, where I ran out of yarn because I warped, which is these strings, and weft with the same yarn, and I just ran out of yarn because I didn't manage it properly. I'm just doing a few rows, and this is just the most standard basic weave. I don't even know if it has a name other than just basic weave. And it'll take a little bit to get it going, and then we'll take a look at where we're at. But for people who may not know how the loom works, which I didn't know either, I borrowed this again from my friend Jacqueline, who is very generous with her sharing of her fiber arts equipment and her process fleece and all these sorts of things. So she lent me this loom to try to see if I like weaving, and I think saying like it is an understatement. I like the speed of it, and it's just a different creative outlet where things work up differently. So learning that and being part of that process is really, really fun. So what I did with this hand spun was, and you can go back to my last this or that video, which I'll try to remember to link in this one, is I dizzed the fiber off of the blending board, which should mean shorter stripes in general of the color on this hand spun. The last scarf that I made, which I showed at the start of my last video, was longer stripes. So different fiber prep, different ways for the striping. So we'll see how this works up. I can already start to see, I'm going to stop for a second. We can start to see where the lighter warp colors are versus the darker, and I'm obsessed with how that's looking so far. But we'll start to see the colors shift, because you can see some parts of this hand spun are really light. So we'll start to see it shift, but it won't shift in big sort of gradients. It's going to be smaller sections. So I'm really excited. I'm going to keep going, and I'll come back when I'm partially done here so that we can take a look, and then when I get near the end. Okay, we have done a little bit of the scarf. I'm kind of bringing it up close so we can see what's going on up close. But I am absolutely floored with it right now. I feel like I couldn't tell if it was going to be way too dark, and it does look darker in the camera for sure than it does in real life. I'm just going to get it up on the tripod here. So it looks a lot darker in the camera. So like these parts that look black, they are not black, they're dark gray. But I'm loving how the neutrals and the grays are shifting. And I'm going to do a few rows here on camera just to kind of show. I'm getting better at edges and tension, but not perfect. You can see sometimes they bulb out. This one is a gift for my sister. So I don't feel the pressure to make it perfect or anything, but it's a great way to learn if I like kind of keep an eye on it to figure out what did I do different right here versus what I just did. I might pull that one a little bit tighter. Oh, and down here. But if anyone has tips on edge tensioning, I saw someone say like kind of make it into a little sort of semicircle and get consistent that way. I think the most important thing is making sure it's not too tight, because if it's tight, then it will pucker. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit looser. And then I'll show you, I put it in kind of a neutral position like this. Once I get kind of up here, it becomes hard to get my really overloaded shuttle in. So, or through the strings, through the threads. So then it's time to roll this up, usually to about there, and then tighten my strings. Tightening the warp is another thing where at first I think I was like tightening it too much. I do want to make sure I leave it nice and springy. But if anyone has tips there, I'll take those too. I'll take tips for anything really. But this way now I have a much bigger opening for the shuttle to go through. And I find it very meditative, just kind of going back and forth. I do hope, and I know in the second shuttle for sure, it looks like it has a lot more of the just plain neutral. So we can see, and I'll get up close in a second here. We can see a lot of this is barber pulled. Some of it's really shiny because it's got the glitter. I don't know if that's showing through. It looks very dark on the camera. That is not what it's like. But a lot of it is barber pulled, which is this striping where you have a lighter one striped with a darker. But every so often there's the sections of the pure light color. So there's a lot more on this second shuttle of those, which is really nice softness to it. I did consider when I was warping, which are these strings here, I did consider making them all just this sort of soft pinkish one that has some variations. You can kind of see a darker pink there. Just to keep the whole thing really light so that when there's light sections, they're really, really light. But I decided to put some of the gray in as well because I just wanted everything to feel really cohesive, and I wasn't sure using these shorter stripes when I did the hand spun. On my blending board, I dizzed it off the board rather than pulling it off as a bat. So the striping is definitely shorter, but it definitely looks like you can see sort of it going from darker into the softer ones. And I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like overall. I do struggle when I look at things, how they're working up. It's hard to step away and see how it's going to look, but I know this is going to be gorgeous, and I'm going to be able to finish it today so that I can steam it, finish it, wrap it up, and give it to her on Christmas, which is in 2 days from now. So I know this is something she's going to love and appreciate, and she saw the other one that I made and thought it was really cool, and she hand selected these neutral tones. So she knows I'm making it, but she's not going to know that it's ready for Christmas unless she watches my YouTube channel, which she might. I don't know. I've never asked her. She may not. But in 2 days, she'll have this in her hands. All right, so I'm going to finish it off. Maybe I'll record when I finish it, and we'll definitely see the finished scarf also in this video. Okay, we have made it to the end, or as far as I can go, and I'm just doing a hem stitch to finish it off, which I just recently learned and is fairly simple. You can look up tutorials. Again, I'm a new weaver. I wouldn't go to me for tutorials, that's for sure. But I am super excited to see where we end up here. I'm just going to finish that off like this, and then it's time to cut, and cutting is a really satisfying part. I'm going to cut as close to the reed as I can, and I will trim it later. Oh, let me move it up just a little bit. All right, here we go. It's a very awkward angle, and that's it. All right, now I'm going to do the thing that I love the most. I'm sure everyone loves this part the most. I'm going to slide it off so we can see how it's going to look as we go. Look at this. It is beautiful. I don't know if you can see, it is sparkling. I have both silver and sort of that forest blaze look. So now at this end, I need to repeat that hem stitch across here. I'm hoping I left a long enough tail. I forgot about that. Oh, I may not have, but I gotta secure it on this side and cut it off, and then we'll see how it looks when it's done. Okay, here it is, the finished scarf. I am hoping you can see a little bit of the sparkles. There's some in here. It's not throughout, but it's in different spots. We've got a little bit here, a little bit there, but let's pull it open so we can see. I love the length of the stripes. You know, if you had followed it along, I was a little bit worried about them being shorter stripes by the way I prepped the fiber, which is in a different video, but I actually think that it's pretty perfect. The light colors are soft and bright, and it has this beautiful sort of neutral, perfect sheen, in my opinion. There is a little bit of silk in there, so every now and then there's a glisten. Mostly, let me see if I can focus in, mostly on these lighter areas there's a bit of a sheen you can see, because with the lighter peachy color is where I put the silk mostly. But this is what it looks like, and I am so happy with it. I just need to give it a finish, so I need to like wet finish it and steam the fringe so that the fringe can be nice and straight, and then trim it to be even. But look at this beautiful finished item. I'm so excited about this, and again, my weaving journey will continue. Thanks for following along. If you have any tips or any questions as I'm learning. Again, this is not a tutorial, this is not instructional, and it's also not edited. It's just what it is, sharing my fiber arts journey. So hand spun yarn, that is my absolute favorite to weave. In fact, I've only really woven with it. Using a loom, which is a shacked cricket loom. It's about this wide. I don't know how wide it is. I want to say like 12 inches or something. And it's perfect for a scarf project like this. Hope you're having a great day, and thanks for watching.